Emily, and today I'm here to bring you another Recent Reads video. After all my talk about not finishing much in July last week, I went and finished 3 books this week, which is pretty nice. I feel like that happens a lot though, like I start out really slow at the beginning of the month, and then at the end I'm like, oh, I need to finish these books to meet my monthly goal. So I was sort of a reading machine this week. Granted, 2 of these books are like short, and so they're very quick and easy reads, but still. So let's just get into it. The first book that I finished this week was Lamb, the Gospel According to Biff, Christ's Childhood Pal by Christopher Moore. This is the book for my personal book club this month, and the ladies were looking for something funny and sort of lighthearted considering everything that's going on, so we decided to go with this one. This is a book that if you grew up in Christian circles, you've probably heard about or at least seen around. It's kind of controversial because the way Jesus is portrayed in here is sort of like some people consider it irreverent and, blasphemous in a way. I don't have much opinion about it. This is about, as it says in the subtitle, Jesus' friend Biff is narrating Jesus' life and their childhood and the time that Biff spent as a disciple. And the conceit of this book is that Biff has been summoned to write his story. So he's locked up in a hotel in current day New York, I think, and he's writing this story. And so it starts out when he and Jesus are 10. They're getting ready to start their apprenticeships, and then it shows all the way up to Jesus' death. And then later on, they talk about the resurrection and things like that. But it's just showing how Jesus became the Messiah and became the rabbi and teacher that we know today. And the way it works is they go around and visit the 3 wise men, and they learn something from each wise man, and Jesus sort of takes what he learned from each of these wise men and puts it together into his new teaching and philosophy and all that kind of stuff. So this was fine. I wasn't like amazed or anything. It wasn't really my kind of humor. I wasn't offended by it. It was fine. Some of the ladies have been posting in our Facebook group that they really love it. And one lady mentioned that she, went out and bought a copy for her mom because she loved it so much. So I think they like it a lot more than I did, but it was fine. Next, I finished Texas Christmas Under 6 Flags by Elizabeth Deering Morgan. This is just a little children's nonfiction book that my mom gave me last December, and I decided to read this for Christmas in July. At the beginning of the year, my intention was to read all Christmas books in July, and then my reading plans changed, and I had things come up, and I don't know, I just didn't feel like it when it actually came to July, but I did want to read one Christmas book. So this is just what it says. It's detailing Christmas as celebrated under the 6 flags of Texas. It's Spain, France, Mexico, the Republic of Texas, the Confederacy, and then the United States. So this is just very basic. This was published in 1996, so a lot of the information, there's a lot of resources listed in each chapter about events you can go to that have traditional Christmas celebrations, but of course I would bet most of the stuff is outdated. The pictures in here are also very poor. They're black and white, and they're just not very good. It's just it's an old book. Also, the way they talk about the Confederacy in here is because they talk about how heroic the Confederates were, and I'm like, no. But anyway, this is an old book. I don't really recommend it. It's fine. I'm sure there's newer, better things out there. I just read it because it was on my show. I then read The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime by Mark Haddon, and this was a reread for me. The first time I ever read this, I was in grad school, and it was my first semester of grad school, and I had gotten involved in the Methodist student group, and they had a house, and they had this bookshelf where there was just a bunch of random books, and one time I had time to kill before class, and I started reading the copy of this that was on the bookshelf, and I liked it so much that I came back after class and finished it in one day. So I've always considered this to be like one of my favorite books, and I just have really strong memories of reading it that first time, which isn't true for like most of the books I read. Most of the books, like a year after I read them, I can't remember like much about them, but this one I really remember enjoying. So I decided, this has been on my reread list for a while, so I decided to pick it up because it's kind of light and, you know, easy to get through. So this is about Christopher, who is a young, well, they don't ever say that he's autistic, but I think he's meant to be autistic, and he's 15 years old, and he lives with his father, and he's writing a book because his neighbor's dog, Wellington, was murdered, and he's trying to figure out who murdered him and why. And so he starts going around and visiting his neighbors and learning things. And he also is telling us about his life. He tells us about his school. He tells us about his love of math and science and his desire to be an astronaut. He talks about his parents. His mother, at the beginning of the book, he believes his mother is dead, and then through the course of the book, he learns some things about his mother, and it changes his relationship with his father, and different things happen. I don't want to spoil it, but basically he sort of learns new things about his family and also about himself, and it's just a really interesting book. It's very easy to read, easy to get through. I read this in like 3 days, and I finished it this morning, and I read like the last 100 pages of it in one sitting. So yeah, it's a really good book. I will say that since I read it the first time, I've heard that it's not like totally accurate in its portrayal. Mark Haddon is not autistic, so it's not an own voices book. He did work with autistic people. He was like a teacher, I believe, so he does have some experience working with them, but it's not an own voices book, and I have heard and read things about this book that maybe it's not the best portrayal of autism to read if you're looking for accuracy, but it's still an enjoyable read, and I'm glad I read it, because I'm glad I reread it, because it was a good time, and it didn't make me think of grad school and that time when I read it the first time. Currently, I'm working on my audiobook for July, which was Valiant Ambition by Nathaniel Philbrick. This is the last book on my July TBR that I need to finish. I've been listening to one chapter a day, and I'm supposed to finish it by Tuesday, which is good. I've got now a few of Lucy Nicely's graphic novels from the library, and if I finish Valiant Ambition, which I should, then I'll read those the last few days of the month. But yeah, I hope everybody else is having a good week. You're doing well, staying healthy, not going too crazy. And I hope you're reading some great books, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye!